The shape of speed. Abstract, brutally beautiful. The sound of speed. Raw excitement. The men of speed. Hard, intense, and fast. From all over the world, they gather annually in a sleepy Central Florida town called Sebring for the premier sports car race in the United States, the 12-hour Sebring Grand Prix of Endurance. Sebring has a flair and distinction all its own. The world's racing greats from 14 countries annually splash this quiet citrus belt town with the color and panoply of a coronation. But in this case, several crowns are to be awarded. For Sebring is many races in one, 26 class races, in fact, in 3 divisions. Prototypes, cars designed as forerunners of future racers. Ford Mark IIs, Ferrari P3s, 180-mile-an-hour proofs. Sports prototypes, at least 50 of the same car must have been manufactured in this division. Ford GTs, Porsche 904s, Triumphs, top speeds in the middle hundreds. Grand Touring, closest to a normal street machine. MGs, Porsches, Stingrays, passenger car gone racing. The route to the throne is arduous and exhausting. 12 hours round and round over 5.2 miles of airport runway and blacktop. It's not easy.
Very, very difficult. It's just a grind, hard grind, brakes and engine all the time. There's a lot of places where you get up to very high speeds, and then you're braking down to just 5 miles an hour virtually, and this is very, very difficult. The brakes get up 1,800 degrees in temperature.
The first 2 bends past the pits are very difficult because they're the fastest corners on the circuit. And fast corners always tricky.
I think at night time it's particularly difficult to find the apex of the corner, especially with these rubber cones, because you suddenly you line up in one of them and the next lap you come around, somebody's clouded it and it's not there anymore. You can find yourself in difficulty.
This course is probably the most challenging in the world, including Le Mans. I think Le Mans is easier than Sebring. The surface is so rough. The cars get taxed, the drivers get taxed a great deal more here than anywhere else in the world.
Oh, it's tiring. You know, there's not an awful lot of rest here. You know, you work pretty darn hard. A lot of hard braking and all that sort of stuff.
Our trackside experts, National Speed Sports News editor Chris Economaki and former U.S. road racing champ Bob Holbert.
Bob's logged over 10,000 miles on this course, winning 6 class victories in 7 years, driving everything from Porsches to Shelby Cobras. Bob, what does it take to win?
Well, Chris, first of all, it takes a good car and it takes a good driver. The driver has to know the capabilities of his car and himself, and he has to be able to set a 12-hour pace that he can maintain. It takes pit work and it takes teamwork. We have a team and a team manager, and most important of all, it takes good strategy planning by the team manager and the team.
The team concept is much in evidence. Ford's 6-car factory team is shooting for the championship. Stock vehicle manager John Crowley determines strategy.
Will you assign lap times to your men?
Yes, they will have lap times.
Can you tell us who your rabbits will be and who your steady boys will be?
Well, I think we'll have Dan Gurney out front. He set a new qualifying record, and he's got a car with a lot of potential, and we'll have him out front.
How about behind him? Who's going to be the slow one?
Well, we'll probably keep A.J. Foyt and the second 4.7-liter car back and let Graham Hill go out front, too.
Ferrari development engineer Mike Parks will co-drive with Bob Bondurant, the only factory Ferrari prototype entered. The V12 Ferrari P3. Parks planned the race.
Well, because it's a very difficult problem coming here with one car only, because you can play it several ways, but our aim is to finish the race, and I shall have to play it very much by ear, depending on how the other cars run.
Would you pick a lap time and try and stay with it, Mike?
Well, we probably will, yes. Based on previous years, I've done a little sum, and it looks as though one ought to go at about 3 minutes 3 on every lap to win the race outright.
Last year's winner, Jim Hall's automatic transmission Chaparral, is a new car this year. coupe-bodied and heavier. All strategy.
We've had a little problems during practice. We don't quite know how competitive the cars are going to be, so we're really going to have to make it up as we go. I think the 427 Fords are a little faster than we are, so we'll kind of string along with them and see what happens.
Will you assign lap times to the two cars?
Possibly after a couple hours running. We'll just have to see how quick the cars get.
Now the teams put their planning and strategy to the ultimate test. The aspirants to the crown move with anxious ease through the last minutes. Jim Hall's defending champion Chaparral, heavier and ill-prepared compared to last year's winner, will have a tough time against the massive, impressive Ford prototype entry and the very fast, traditionally reliable Ferrari prototype. In the smaller engine cars, the Porsche Carrera 6s face formidable opposition in their first meeting with a Dino Ferrari. In a moment, they'll put car, strategy, and raw courage on the line in a 12-hour run for the crown. Sebring, the Grand Prix of Endurance, is brought to you by Castrol, the masterpiece in oils. It's no exaggeration to say that the race car of today is handled like a prima donna. Years of testing and millions of dollars are poured into research and development before you can feel the competitive machine in automobile racing's big leagues. So it stands to reason that only the best is good enough. Nothing that goes into the race car plays a more vital role than motor oil. And that's why today's top racing teams, everything from Donald Healey's Sprites up to the Ford GT40s and Big Cobras, use Castrol. We are at the Essex Wire Garage, just beyond the first turn after the pit straight, where young Skip Scott, Essex Wire team manager and #1 driver, is discussing racing strategy for their two Ford GT40s with competitions director David York and Skip's co-driver Peter Revson of New York. It takes a lot of hands beside the drivers to man a top-flight international racing team. Mechanics, bookkeepers, pit personnel, and don't forget the wives, like lovely Kathy Scott here, who helps keep the lap charts and looks after the driver's comfort. Skip's second car, distinguishable only from Peter and Skip's machine by a different number and color stripe, is being driven by last year's Le Mans winner Maston Gregory and Milwaukee Brewery Air Augie Pabst. Castrol is the motor oil for today's high-performance engines. Year after year, more racing championships in the air, on the water, and in automobile races around the world are won on Castrol. In the next 12 hours, Skip Scott and Peter Revson will cover over 1,200 miles around Sebring's rough 5.2-mile circuit. Their machine must function perfectly. They depend on Castrol, and it never misses a beat. Sebring, Florida, moments before the race for the crown. Fastest qualifiers to slowest are ready to get on with it, and so are their fans. Only seconds now as 64 drivers face their cars on tiptoe. And the sprint is on, the slowest moment of the race. It's a Ferrari, first away. Gurney appears to be stalled, the rest of the field racing away. Amazingly enough, it's the smaller engine Dino Ferrari leading the pack. And through the dangerous S's, the Dino's still in front, chased by Graham Hill's lightweight Ford GT. A frantic Gurney still trying to get started, his handicap growing every second. Now Graham Hill's more powerful Ford GT has passed the Dino Ferrari, the Rodriguez Andretti car third through Webster turn. Gurney's off, but a half lap down. He'll have to move. Minor trouble on the turn. Through the hay bale spins the White's Fisher Ford GT, but everything's okay. A Goodyear Blimp's eye view of the warehouse straight as Dan Gurney's blue Ford prototype turns it on. In front as they complete lap one, Graham Hill's Ford GT. Mike Parks takes second. Dan Gurney's going like a rocket. Fastest qualifier at 107 miles an hour. His troublesome start put him 63 cars down. An enormous handicap for the car Ford planned to lead the race. Timers clock Gurney at 2 minutes, 54 8/10. An absolute course record, better than 107 miles per hour. He's moving. Meantime, the Ferraris have captured the front ranks. But Gurney looks like he means business. And Chris Economaki gets word on Ford's plans now.
The number 2 car had difficulty in starting, Chris. They finally got it underway. I don't know whether Dan flooded it or what happened, but it's going now, and I think you'll see him come up through the pack.
What does this do to your planned strategy?
We'll still bring Gurney to the front, we hope.
Gurney's advanced to 7th in just 15 laps. He's averaging 105 miles per hour. The trouble-plagued Chaparral team pits its number 12 car. This one was losing oil all through practice, and it looks like that's still the trouble for the defending champion. 2 quarts this time, and the race barely started. That oil-stained rear deck, mute testimony to the trouble. Joe Bonnier is back out, but their chances are not good. Up front, Parks holds a 22-second lead over Ken Miles. Miles has skillfully and quickly captured second. Gurney's been relentless. He's now 3rd and moving. Parks' lead is steadily whittled away down to 18 seconds, and Miles is counting. Team manager Carroll Shelby keeps a paternal eye on the situation, tells Ken Miles to lower his lap times and catch Parks. Gurney, too, is keeping the pressure on Parks. Slottig's Ferrari is a bit wide in the hairpin, only damage to his ego. It's neck and neck now. Parks, Miles, Gurney close enough to cover with a blanket as they roar through the Webster. Meantime, under 2-liter prototype honors are held by the Herman Buzetta Porsche Carrera 6. The Essex Wire 4 GT is first sports category. Skip Scott driving. And the Fulmer Gregg Porsche 904 leading under 2-liter sports. First Grand Touring Division, the Winterstein Moore piloted Corvette Stingray. And now the Rabbits in second place. Gurney has passed Miles and shoots for Parks and the lead. More trouble for the Chaparrals. There's word from the other end of the pits that both Chaparrals are in and probably out of the race. Let's get the word from team driver and co-developer Hepcar.
Well, we don't seem to be able to build a closed car as well as we did the open cars that we campaigned here last year. The additional weight of the prototype car, which is required by the rules, and everything we have is designed for a lightweight automobile. We didn't think we'd be fast enough, but we thought we had our durability problems licked.
A bitter disappointment for designer driver Jim Hall and the Chaparral team. Winners here last year, the Texas Roadrunners seemed restricted by the new international weight regulations. Let's get the word from Jim Hall.
Jim, it must be a big disappointment for you. What knocked out the car?
Well, separate things, Chris. We had engine trouble on one of them and suspension trouble on the other.
Jim, before the trouble set in, were you satisfied with the performance of the cars against the competition?
Yes, we were. The cars, I think they're competitive in lap speeds, both here and Daytona. This is a long race, and we were satisfied with the speed we were running.
The Porsche Carrera 6s are impressively fast. The Mitterklasse number 53 overtakes its factory twin, driven by Buzetta and Herman. Second place Gurney and third place Miles are both hard on Parks' Ferrari. And doing some fun racing between themselves. Manager Carroll Shelby doesn't want any hijinks this early and tells them to separate. Parks, keeping to his pre-race plan, is still first, but losing steadily to Gurney. The Rodriguez Ferrari in fourth makes the order now. Ferrari, Ford, Ford, Ferrari. Miles pits the third-place car with co-driver Ruby awaiting the call. Obviously elated with his position, Miles indicates the car's running sweetly. The apparent strategy to keep Miles and Ruby in contention is working well now. Ruby's ready to be off, but no start. Shelby wonders if it's a repeat of Gurney's problem. An old Indianapolis trick. Gas right into the carburetor, gets the 97-liter Ford cooking, and Ruby's off to the fray. And what a fray. Parks is surrendered first to Gurney. He's now down more than a minute, but still driving a steady 3-minute lap despite the runaway Fords. And Gurney's a runaway first at last. It took him just 25 laps to pass all 63 opponents. Ruby's settling in at third according to plan. Parks pits the prototype Ferrari for Bondurant to relieve him. The giant 4 overhead cam V12 engine working superbly, keeping Parks well up in the standings. Gas, rear tires, and a quick check all around, and Bondurant takes the control. Let's hear from Parks on strategy at this point.
Everything going well, Mike?
Beautifully. Car going absolutely superbly. Yes, no trouble at all.
With the chaparrals out, did you alter your strategy any?
Well, I still stick to what I said earlier. The car which will win the race will be a car which laps consistently in 3 minutes 2, 3 minutes 3, which is what we're doing.
How far ahead will you allow the Fords to get?
Well, up to a lap.
Smoke funneling into the sky at the hairpin. Communications are knocked out for 10 minutes. When restored, the crowd learned Bob McLean of Vancouver in a Comstock Team 4 GT40 was killed when his car overturned. The race continues with a fierce Ford Ferrari battle shaping up as we near the halfway point. The Gurney Grant Ford first. Parks Bondurant Ferrari second. Miles Ruby Ford third. Rodriguez Andretti Ferrari fourth. Let's check with Chris Economaki and Bob Holbert at the midway marker.
There have been several withdrawals, notable among them the 2 chaparrals, which are out of the competition. Roger Penske's prototype Corvette is out, and the Ford GT40 of former world champion Graham Hill, who is teamed with Scotland's Jackie Stewart. Bob, how does it look to you?
Well, Chris, we opened up this morning with cloudy skies and a little bit cooler weather. This seemed to mean a real fast pace for the boys. Probably the best competition we've ever had here at Sebring. We're now at the halfway mark, and we see the giant killers starting to move up in the pack. We already have 3 Porsches in the top 10 right here. And I would think now, I think Ferrari has to start changing his strategy to keep this Ford battle going on.
Those Porsche Carrera giant killers Bob Holbert talked about are led now by the Wester Patrick number 48, with the 2 factory cars right behind. That puts 3 Porsches in the top 10, ready to pounce if the big iron fails. Porsche's main opponent, the very quick Dino Ferrari, is pitted with rear suspension problems. This long pit stop puts a crimp in Ferrari's plans to make some under 2-liter points. The Bandini Scarpiotti team can't be discounted, and they're finally off as dusk settles slowly over the track. The Triumph team is dominating its class with number 41, the current leader. Up front, the Parks Bondurant Ferrari in third draws a bead on the Miles Ruby second placer and the Gurney Grant Ford hold first. But they're all on the same lap. Amazing for this late in the race. The dangerous hours approach. Dusk lends an eerie quality to the scene as drivers adjust to the tense nighttime driving hours. There's a report the Parks Bondurant Ferrari is out. Bondurant abandoned the car on the track. Let's find out from Mike Parks.
Mike, it's very unusual for a leading Ferrari to go out at Sebring. What happened?
Well, it was quite a surprise to me, too, actually, because we usually try and make our cars to last. Actually, the car lost second gear, and from then on, it just got rather difficult to change gear. And finally got stuck in 1 gear, and Bob couldn't drive it anymore.
The demise of the third-place Parks Bondurant Ferrari gives Ford clear sailing. Only the Andretti Rodriguez Ferrari near the top, and then the Walt Hanskin Mark Donohue Ford, followed by the Scott Revson Ford. So with night full on, it's Ford, Ford, Ferrari, Ford, Ford. Report of another accident. First word says 2 cars collided near Webster Turn. One off the track but moving. The other smashed into one of the trackside warehouses, possibly injuring some onlookers. We'll have to wait official word. The third place Rodriguez Andretti Ferrari is in and damaged. Andretti's car was one of those involved at the Webster. From the looks of things, they're going to have trouble getting him out again. But Andretti's getting back in. They're trying to give him some light, but it doesn't look good. Fire, quickly out. But that should do it for the only Ferrari capable of challenging the Fords. A disconsolate Pedro Rodriguez looks on. Let's get down to Chris Economaki and a word with Andretti.
Another of the Ferrari cars having trouble. Mario, you brought the car in with a front end damage. What happened out there?
The gearbox selector broke, and I tried to shift into third from fourth, and I went into first to lock the rear wheel, and hit a, I think it was a sandbank. Knocked all the lights out. Put the car into the range. Yeah.
Now we have the official word on the Webster Turn accident. Andretti's Ferrari and Don Wester's number 48 Porsche collided. Andretti went off the track into a bank. Wester veered across the other side, striking 4 spectators who were in an unauthorized area. They were killed. Wester hospitalized with multiple injuries, but not in danger. In the pits, meantime, Dan Gurney and Ken Miles wait to take their cars out for the final laps. The Gurney Grant car still leading, Miles Ruby second. Here's Ruby bringing the Ford prototype in to hand over to teammate Miles. They've driven a great race following their 24-hour win at Daytona, but it looks like second at Sebring. Team manager Shelby, with his cars first and second, has a word of caution. Wants no last-minute errors. And now Gurney's car arrives. Jerry Grant ready to turn it over to his partner. This will be the first major endurance triumph for the Gurney Grant duo. Especially welcome to the hard luck plagued Dan Gurney. Only laps left now as 10 o'clock approaches. And Dan Gurney pulls out on the final laps to the crown. He has only to keep his car under wraps and out of trouble for a few more laps, and his first Sebring victory is a reality. And there's the flag on the stroke of 10. Gurney should be coming by any moment to take the checker. No, he's pushing his car. Gurney apparently stalled on the track and is risking disqualification for pushing the car across the line. An unbelievable development at the last instant, and Gurney is robbed of victory. We don't know what happened at this point, but Miles is driving into victory lane to accept the crown, the apparent winner of this action-filled classic. And obviously elated but surprised, Miles enjoys the victory lane hubbub, while everyone wonders what happened to Gurney. Provisional results show him second, Walt Hanskin third, Skip Scott fourth, First Sports, 4 Porsches in the top 10. Winterstein Moore Stingray first GT. Victory lane and the Gurney story after this word.
Ken Miles and Lloyd Ruby, and of course the Beauty Queens. Ken Miles, are you as surprised as we are?
I'm slightly ashamed.
Well, it was a big day for Ford, wasn't it?
It was a good day for Ford. I'm very happy with the Ford Motor Company. I'm very sorry indeed for Dan. He really deserved to win the race. He drove a beautiful race, and I'm sorry that something happened at the last minute.
How did Lloyd go for you? This is your third big long-distance win together, isn't it?
I like Lloyd.
What's next for you?
Le Mans.
How about the strategy, Ken? Did you stay with your plan throughout the day?
Yeah, we just drove with the way we felt the car should go.
Did you feel that? Did you taste that P3 Ferrari much?
No trouble.
No trouble?
No.
Let me have a word with Lloyd Ruby over here. Congratulations, Lloyd. Are you as surprised as we are?
We really are. I mean, I was already cleaned up and everything. I thought we had second made, and then you never know on them last laps.
That's right. Well, let's continue. Good luck to you all.
First sports category, the Essex Wire 4 GT, driven beautifully by Skip Scott and Doug Revson. First under 2-liter prototype, the very swift Porsche Carrera 6, driven by Joe Buzetta and Hans Herman. First Grand Touring, the Roger Penske-entered Stingray, driven by George Winterstein and Ben Moore. Now, let's get the word on Gurney.
Dan, it seems like I'm always asking you what happened.
Well, she quit.
Engine trouble?
I believe so.
How long did you push it?
Oh, probably almost a quarter mile. About a quarter mile.
It's got to get better, doesn't it?
Gurney disqualified, but nevertheless, he set an overall track record of 2:54.8. Miles race speed was 98.8 miles per hour, a new record, and in all it was a record-shattering day for more than 60,000 at the 16th Sebring Grand Prix of Endurance.